All right, good morning, folks. This is News 6 meteorologist David Nazario back in the Digital Weather Center. I almost did it with the wrong hand this time. I'm finally getting it down. It's the right side, not the left side, unless I want to be pointing to somebody randomly in the background. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have us broadcasting to our News 6 Plus viewers over at clickorlando.com. We also got the YouTube streams up and live this morning over on the News 6 YouTube channel, as well as the Just Weather YouTube channel. Hopefully we'll get a few more folks into the News 6, hoping to get some questions or comments out there, especially as we get ready for this big cold buildup that we have coming down for us here in the Southeast and especially in Central Florida. Let's see what we got going on in the chat so far. Good morning to a few of our Just Weather viewers. Time Traveler Karen up in Connecticut watching. Thank you so much for tuning in from so far away. Farisha, good day. Everyone watching from Trinidad. Lord willing, we will no longer be doing any tropical updates. We'll just be tracking fronts and maybe some showery or stormy weather wherever you may reside. It looks like the hurricane season is now closed. Julia, good morning from Key West. Hope you are feeling better. Yes, Julia, thank you so much for inquiring. I'm doing a lot better today. Had a fantastic workout to start the day. So we're starting Tuesday on a very high note, and it's only going to get better from there. With that, let's go ahead and get rocking. So here's a look at our infrared satellite. And I know that there's one thing that jumps out right in the middle of the screen, and that there is going to be the remnants of Sara that have now merged with the front that's expected to move through our area. You can see this very bulbous piece of thunderstorm and high top cloud cover out there over the central Gulf of Mexico, influencing the weather in parts of Louisiana. Looks like New Orleans, Baton Rouge, southern Mississippi, getting into interior Mississippi, are also starting to see some of the remnants of that feature getting pulled to the north with that frontal axis as it continues to push off towards the east, towards our neck of the woods in the southeast. You can also see where the actual low pressure comma is at this point. That is a very deep occluded system there where I have that L drawn. That is our parent low system. And you can see where our purple front, the occluded front, where the cold air catches up with the warm sector, that's where that would be positioned over the upper Great Lakes, moving into the Midwest and up into the Northeast. So this is a very elongated system to kind of paint that picture for you all. This is going to be sweeping through the entirety of the United States. The West already had it, and now it's our turn here very soon to receive it. I'll go ahead and clear the ink out so we can get this puppy back in action. You can see all that shade of orange, those deep colors that are blowing up over the Gulf of Mexico. That is Sara. Sara is now totally assimilated to that cold frontal boundary, and as such, it will be nothing in the realm of tropical once it gets here. It will, in fact, still carry some tropical characteristics in terms of showers and very heavy rainfall and maybe some gusty winds, but that'll also be induced by the trough and the front itself as well. So don't get it twisted. We're not going to be seeing anything Sara-ish. This is definitely more of that cyclone that I showed you up over the Great Lakes, the tail end of that front that's pushing everything in. This is a beautiful sight right here. I'll go ahead and zoom us in so we can take it in. No tropical development expected over the next 7 days per the National Hurricane Center outlook, and I truthfully don't see that changing anytime soon, which is excellent news. You know, we still have a little bit of activity down there in the Atlantic. You can see it down there between the 5 and 10 degree latitude line. For those of you who may not be familiar with your Latin long, I'm looking right in through here. Down in the what you could call the southeast corner of the chart, there's still some decent showers and storms out there over that intertropical convergence zone, the ITCZ. You can see, however, it is really dropped. It has really come down to the south, and that is also a key indicator that hurricane season is just about finished. During the hurricane season, whether it be June, July, September, October, usually you see that puppy sitting somewhere right in through here. Let me grab my pen before I start spinning the globe on y'all. Usually it sits somewhere right in through here. We did have that period of time where it was all the way up here for some reason, thanks to our very aggressive monsoonal setup and the wave breaking we'll talk more about for a later segment that had it drift that far to the north. But now you can see it's hovering way down to the south, which means that the Atlantic is shut down. The Atlantic is closed. There's nothing else expected to come out, and I do not foresee that changing anytime soon. And that is all we're going to say about the tropics today. Let's keep the ball rolling, get into the current big picture weather pattern for us here in the eastern United States, the Gulf of Mexico, and for our lovely viewers over on Just Weather, the Caribbean, our neighbors down to the south. We still have that tropical moisture that's getting pulled in by both the western side of that anticyclone, the high pressure out there over the southwest Atlantic off our east coast, kind of getting closer to the southern Bahamas now, it looks like. And you can see all that dry air associated with it where my big dryer icon is plastered. Then we also have that surge of dry air looking up over Texas, Oklahoma, now getting into the boot of Louisiana and Arkansas, surging through northern Mexico back behind that cold front. And you can see this is a perfect representation of how weather works. It's where that thunderstorm and the tropical moisture is, it's sandwiched right between the point where those winds converge. And that's one of the prime ingredients you need for any type of disturbed weather to occur. You need that pinching effect down in the low levels because that creates lift in your atmosphere. And this is an excellent graphic. You can see that dry air and the surge of cooler air coming off the United States, meeting up with the backside of the high pressure, and right in between where that meets, bam, you get all that tropical activity and the thunderstorms that Louisiana, Alabama, and now getting into the Florida Panhandle are dealing with this morning as well. We move on over to our radar, and you can see all that shower activity that's moving through. Also getting all the way up into Virginia even. Virginia, looks like West Virginia, Kentucky seeing a little bit of the residual showers and storms off of this. Thankfully, nothing severe right now. I don't really see a very high-end severe risk with this. A lot of it is going to happen overnight for us here in Florida, and as a result, the surface of the earth is going to be very cool. It has been fairly mild the last few days, if you've noticed. Not as much in the term of humidity. Dew points have been fairly low, and as such, we're really not going to expect a whole lot of oomph in these frontal bands, this frontal line that's going to be coming through. Typically, this is something we want to watch for any kind of straight line damaging winds, the potential for small pea-sized hail, if not greater than that, in your more robust setups, or, dare I say, your tornadic activity. But in this case, that's not the case, or in this scenario, that's not the case. Case, not the case. In this scenario, that is not the case, so we're just mainly going to be rocking with some fairly heavy rainfall over the next few days, and I should strike that and reverse it. Heavy rainfall to start the day tomorrow, and then cooler temps over the next several days. You can see as we go through the next few days, we are going to see our temperatures drop pretty quickly. This is a fast-moving front, and as such, the cool air is going to lag back behind it just a little bit. So Thursday and Friday is going to be fairly nice outside. You might want to take a long sleeve with you in the morning, but then especially for Saturday and Sunday, look at where we're going to be getting into starting the day on Saturday. This is 11 a.m., so already about 3 to 4 hours after sunrise, we're still sitting in the upper 50s, maybe low 60s down in South Florida, with the majority of us viewing from elsewhere in the plains or up in the Midwest, the Appalachians, the Mid-Atlantic. We're still going to be sitting in the upper 40s, maybe trying to squeak into the low to mid 50s. So it goes to show we have a pretty strong setup coming in. And as you can see here, we're moving to our 500 millibar temperatures. This is going to be the temperature of the air way up high. We're talking 20, almost 25,000 feet up in the air above where we sit at ground level. You can see we have some of those shades of purple extending down through parts of Tennessee, the Carolinas, trying to get into the Gulf Coast states. That's that upper trough that's driving this cold front down where we can feel it through the rest of the United States. Gets even better as we go into the weekend. This is now Friday morning. Notice how that purple dome rotates rotates out of the Gulf, not the Gulf, rotate, you can see I'm still in tropics mode, rotates out of the Great Lakes and comes way down into Alabama and northern Florida. That is when our temps are really going to start to go down as we go through the weekend, which is really exciting. Well, for some of us, I know some of the native Floridians don't really like when they have to bundle up. 60, 70 degrees feels chilly out there. I'm a native Floridian. I always have been. I love Florida. And, it's a wonderful time of the year when we get a break from 100% humidity and 200% chance you got a shower by lunchtime because of how much you're sweating out there. So after that, we do get a little bit of a warm-up. It does look like we'll be back into the upper 70s, maybe the low 80s, with a little bit more of that humidity in place for Thanksgiving, but then hot on its heels into Black Friday, and that Black Friday weekend, we have another big plunge of polar air coming out of Canada that's really going to help to cool us down as we round out the month of November and get ready to move into December. Christmas in full effect. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, folks. I'll be right back. We're going to talk more about what we can expect tomorrow and through the day on Wednesday, as well as what Thursday and Friday will look like to help you plan out the rest of your work week and get excited for what looks to be a fantastic weekend ahead without having to worry about the tropics. So we'll see you again here very soon. Don't go anywhere, folks. And we're back. All right. So, as promised, we're going to take a look at exactly what is likely to be taking shape tomorrow morning. It doesn't look all that appealing, to tell you the truth. I usually start my day around 4 o'clock, 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning, get myself set up for success, grab the pre-workout in the gym bag, and I'm on the road taking the 429 up to this part of town so I can not only get closer to News 6, but then get my lift in before the day gets too far away in that morning traffic. All the NPCs will spawn in on the roadways, as I like to say. And I'm not too excited about tomorrow morning, I'll tell you the truth. My car's out, the one that's more safe to drive. And as a result, I got to roll in what I call the race car tomorrow morning. And I'm not really excited for what's in store for us. So here we have our future radar product, and I'll step us through time. This is where we are right now, give or take 44 minutes. It's 44 after the hour, but it's, still pretty valid for where we are currently. And as you can see, we still have that frontal band slowly working its way in. And as we go through the rest of the day today, and especially after sunset tonight, now this is Tuesday at 9 p.m., you can see that we're starting to get into that early frontal phase, is what I'll call it. We're starting to get a lot of that warm air advection coming up out of the south, and I'll go ahead and draw that in for you as well. You can see the arrows are starting to really blossom over South Florida, moving up the peninsula, parallel with the peninsula, up into that shield of rainfall. That's that leading edge. If you look just off the top of the chart here where the banner is, we actually have the warm front that's moving through Virginia up into the northeastern states as a result. So that warm conveyor belt is right over top of us, and that's going to help to kind of warm things up even into the overnight hours. It will be a little bit more on the moist and muggy side tonight, and especially tomorrow morning once that rain starts to fall. I'll step the clock a little bit more through time, and you can see this is right about when I would be starting the day. I'm sure there's a lot of other early risers out there as well. You can already see that the greater Orlando metro area, Daytona Beach, Palm Bay, all the way up into St. Augustine, Jacksonville are starting to see the kind of light to moderate rainfall set in. We're not in the heaviest stuff just yet. You can see a lot of the heavier pockets are still just offshore, maybe working their way into Clearwater, Tampa Bay, still on its way for parts of Sarasota, Venice Beach, and Fort Myers. And that's when you finally get to about sunrise. We'll go to 7 o'clock, and now we have all that really heavy stuff sitting right over top of us. So I would highly encourage that even though we've had some great weather for the last couple of days, even through this last weekend, take the umbrella, take a poncho, take a raincoat with you, definitely wear a different kind of shoe. Tomorrow morning, if you're stepping out, headed to the gym, getting into the office early, taking the kids to school, make sure the kids are also prepared. And I would also encourage grabbing a bottle of off. I don't know about y'all, but I've been trying to work on my car the last couple of days, and there's been even more mosquitoes all of a sudden. We haven't really gotten a lot of rain either, which is bizarre. You'd think with a cold front or even just this cool front that came through end of last week that there would be no bugs or anything crazy, but nope. I've been getting bit up, so definitely with this rainfall that's coming through, at least for another 12 to 24 hours, make sure you've got the insect repellent ready to rock and roll, a raincoat, jacket, you name it, and this will be pretty quick in nature. I'll go ahead and get even further into the day. We'll go to about middle of the day. Let's go to the end of the workday, give or take 5 o'clock. And you can see already we're starting to clear out with how fast that front is just rocking through the Florida peninsula. Could still see some lingering showers for the East Coast down towards Miami and Fort Lauderdale, up into maybe Brevard County as well, south of the Space Coast. Patrick Space Force Base would probably be where I would draw my line. And anywhere further south from there at about 4 to 5 o'clock, you might see some showers, maybe a stray crackle of thunder or two. Not looking at anything fierce, but that's when we will start to clear out, and then just in time for the sunset. Things are looking pretty good, and I'll just go ahead and fast forward all the way through. You can see our skies are going to be really clear for Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. So if you don't have any plans to get outdoors just yet, definitely do so. Do it quick. Make those plans, have some fun this weekend, especially since we are no longer worrying about the tropics. We are going to be a little gusty. You can see towards the very end of the peak here of the winds, there is that little bit of a spin that moves right into Tampa Bay. That's Sara trying to show itself and come back with a vengeance, to say the least, and move through our viewing area. So it will probably be windy tomorrow morning as well, and it is expected to stay that way. There's going to be a bit of a transition between the two as well. Once we get the leading edge of the front close enough to where we can feel it, we're going to have pretty gusty winds out of the south, and then they will be a little variable because of the fact we have that embedded spin along the front, what's left of the low pressure that once was Sara. Then after the fact, as we go through Wednesday night and into Thursday, you can see the clock has stopped at 6 p.m. Now our winds are going to be predominantly out of the north and north-northwest, and all the strong winds that you're getting out of the north and northwest here, I'll go ahead and take our handy-dandy pen tool here. I'll stop the clock here. There's your little spin that once was Sara. I'll draw it in for you so you may not have missed it the first time we looped through. That's what's left of Sara. The front itself is right in through here. It's on the nose of that cold frontal boundary, and as a result, we're going to see some pretty gusty onshore flow down near Tampa Bay, getting down towards Sarasota, Venice Beach, the Fort Myers, Punta Gorda area as well. Charlotte Harbor could see some onshore flow, and maybe some very rough seas as well. Not thinking storm surge. We're not going to say storm surge, but it'll definitely be a rough start to our Wednesday. Then finally, you can see that works its way through. Gusty winds anywhere between 15 to even 30 miles an hour as this wanders through our neck of the woods. And then finally, very early Thursday morning, see that transition in the wind direction? They're all coming off the United States, all our little blue arrows coming off the continent. And as a result, you can tell we have changed air masses. That's all a cold front and a warm front is. I know it's a fancy term that us meteorologists use, but really all it is a little label on a map that says, okay, on the back side of this front, we have polar air. On the front side of it, we have not polar air. And that's kind of how we use that to make judgment calls on forecasting what type of weather we'll get on either side of it. And one of the trademark responses to what's called frontal passage is the backing of the winds. Notice how we went from a southerly component out of the due south. We backed up. And now we're coming out of the northwest. There is a term for that. It's called backing winds with height. So as a front comes through, cold air is heavy. So it comes through at the surface first, and then you get it at about 1,000 feet above the air or above the surface, then 3,000, 5,000, and so on. It's like a gradual slope effect. And that's why you get the backing with height, because the winds will suddenly shift from south and maybe southeast to more north and northwest. Just a fun little tidbit of weather science to finish up the rest of your Tuesday. And then finally, just wanted to show you the current temps right now because these will be changing. These are definitely going to be changing over the next few days, especially for the weekend. And then I'll go ahead and leave you all with this before I open up the floor for some maybe, a couple questions here and there. We've changed the template. If you have been tuning in and joining us for these live updates, a lot of it was red with a hurricane in the background because we were talking invest so-and-so and tropical storm hoo-ha. In this case, we're seeing a lot better conditions out there. We got to get through some heavy rain and maybe a thunderstorm or two, but we got a strong dose of rain and storms tomorrow morning as the front arrives. Moving to that second column, we should be clear, most of us, by midday, especially as we get towards the very tail end of the day, Wednesday night. That front will literally come in and just sweep everything out. All the moisture will go, the dryness will return, our humidity will start to drop, and then the temperatures, especially after sunset, will start to drop as well. And Thursday, Friday will look a lot better for us. And then at that bottommost bullet point, that's your kind of heads up. Thursday and Friday may not seem too crazy, but the weekend is definitely when you want to make sure that you dust off the old winter attire, make sure you iron or press whatever it needs that needs pressing, because I know a lot of us will just bundle that stuff up and throw it as far back in the closet as possible, since it may as well be summer 24/7, 365 days out of the year here in Central Florida. But it looks like that's going to be changing. We also have a pretty fantastic article that dropped on clickorlando.com if you want to check that out. Believe it or not, we talked tropics maybe having some sort of 20-year give or take rhythm to it. And it turns out the last time Florida had a large dose of cold air like this, not only so early in the month of November, but as long as it's going to last, was about 20 years ago. It's starting to catch on. We're calling it the Nazario effect. I kind of like it. I'll go ahead and take one question or two. I kind of ran a little long. Let's see. TJ Tampa over on the News 6 YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. Pretty happy it's this way and not the other way it could have been. I completely agree. We could have major Hurricane Sara, and thank goodness that's not the case whatsoever. Bethany Alexander over on Just Weather. Coastal South Carolina looking to get any rain this week. God, we need it. There should be some rain left over with this front. It shouldn't all dissipate. Some of what Sara is contributing to, as well as the nose of that cold front, should help to work its way up into South Carolina, although I will say it's not going to be very widespread in nature. You're not all going to get a lot of rain, and honestly, the accumulation that you'll see might not be very much. We're going to hope for it, though. We're going to try to push as much of it up your way as possible, since I know there are still some folks around here in very isolated cases in Central Florida still flooded out from Helene and Milton. So honestly, we're good with the rain. We can take the temps, but we don't need any more rain for now anyways. But alrighty, folks, as we close out the live stream, I just want to say once again, thank you for being such a spectacular audience. Thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday morning to join me here in the Digital Weather Center. I'm News 6 meteorologist David Nazario. We'll see you again tomorrow at the same time, same place. But until then, have a wonderful rest of your day. This is the Digital Weather Center, signing out.